This time in Goss's Garage, we're joined by Tony Fleming. He's the owner of Fleming's Ultimate Garage in Rockville, Maryland. Tony, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me. Thanks, everybody.
All right, now you deal in collectible and fun to drive cars and so on. What's your primary vehicles that you deal with?
Well, we typically have, in a weird sort of way, we have everything that you don't need. So what we have is just fun. If you wanted a 2014 Camaro, we may have that day. If you want a 66 Mustang Fastback, we probably have it that day as well. So it's a place to get a dream. So like the whole basis of our business is this term. It's, hey, I remember when. Most everybody remembers some cool car that bit them as a kid. You know, they saw it drive by when they were really young, or they rode in it in high school, or they rode it in college. And a lot of us, especially myself, we couldn't afford, these really cool cars. Back in the day when the rich kids got this really nice car to drive at high school, I was always enamored by that. Now they're paying the price.
All right, so what you're selling is the childhood dream, the fantasy.
I think so. I think here's a chance to get back in and remember riding around with Jimmy, in high school. You guys cruising around in that old car. Kids come along, got to get a career sorted out, married, house, all those good things. I get all that. What happens is the wife typically will say, but you've been talking about that car you and Jimmy rode around in for 20 years. We can finally afford it. Let's get that car. And so it's a whole family decision. It's like maybe a man-driven decision, but it's a family purchase.
All right, but now that means that by this stage of your life, you've got to have a huge amount of money in order to go out and pay cash for one of these fun cars.
Well, that's everybody's level of what they can afford is exactly that. You're right. So that could be a lot of money for some people, but you also are able to finance these cars because the bank loves them because they're a lot less risk. For instance, if a '69 Camaro was $4,200 loaded up, back in the day, it's no longer selling for $4,200. It's selling for significantly more than that. So the risk that they would loan the money to you and the car would go down in value is a lot lower than, say, buying a brand new car and driving it off the lot. So that's one of the reasons why they loan them. And so for a few $100 a month, you could drive around in a really cool car.
Okay, but also, what about being able to drive them? Isn't it pretty limited what you can do with one?
Well, that's actually the opposite of what I think you should do with one. Some people, will for instance, Ferraris. Most people feel like a Ferrari, you should drive it every once in a while and keep the mileage as low as possible, right? A, because they're expensive to service, but B, because they sell better with much lower mileage. But the truth of the matter is you bought it because you love the sound of it, and you love the feel of it, and you love the way it's so different than, say, maybe your daily driver. These cars here I'm talking about, we'd like you to drive them all season long, whether it's the winter, the spring, the summer, or the fall. In the winter, maybe you don't drive it when it's snowing or raining or the slush is out, and that's why you have a daily driver. In the spring comes, that's a great driving time. The summer, obviously you're going to cruise around it, especially at night. Those cars are so much fun to go out in at night when it's just a little bit cooler. They sound great, the top is down or the windows are down. People don't remember there's vent windows of cars, right, that open up and let the air come in. I show people that all the time, and kids will come in and go, what is that? That is a window crank, right? And actually windows that rolled up and down. It's just little stuff that we don't remember anymore. And so fall comes and the weather changes, and it's, as you know, fall driving is the best. It's the low humidity, and it's just the roads are wonderful, and you're driving, the leaves are changing, and then the winter comes again, and these cars were somebody's daily driver at one time.
Yeah, well, that makes sense because you think of them now that they're collectible, that nobody ever drove one of them. And I'm sure there are some that are that way, but the majority of them, they were daily drivers.
Yeah, you're right. And I don't know which ones weren't, but it seems that they're all able to do that today if you wanted to, and that's why they're so shiny and nice. Okay,
so you also deal in late model stuff. That's fun.
Yeah, we do. We carry. Sometimes somebody might want to drive a newer Porsche or a Bentley or a Ferrari or things like that. So we carry those types of cars too. And then a year later, they say, "Hey, Tone, I love that car, but I've always wanted to get a fastback Mustang." and so we get a fastback Mustang for them. Or the hybrid of those cars, and these are becoming very popular, something called a resto mod, which is an old school body, but with all modern components inside. From, for instance, like we have a Coronet RT right now, which has a Dodge Charger, a modern Dodge Charger donor. So the engine and transmission, the dash, the console, all of these pieces were taken out of this car, incorporated into here with a modern suspension, big wheels and tires, giant brakes, right? And now this car drives like a new car, but when you roll down the road, the style is like no other car out there.
Now that sounds neat.
Yeah.
So you got all the modern amenities, but performance and the look of the old car.
Correct, exactly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So you'll be there today, won't you?
Yeah, as a matter of fact.
Right.
Would that I could. Right. What other things should our viewers know about collectible cars and these fun cars?
Well, I think that there's, I would say this to you, do your homework. You know, we are, this is our 15th year. We sold about 3,400 of these models. Doesn't make me an expert, but I think we have some idea we're doing 3,400 cars later. What you see on the outside is not always what you're getting. Shiny paint has been the horror of the used car market for 100 years. You don't know what lurks underneath there. So even though I feel we ask the right questions, we try to drill down to make sure we're getting a great car. When the car arrives, you know, the horns don't work, the turn signals don't work. The trunk could have issues with it. And we have to fix these all the time on these cars. So getting a car from us means that you're not getting a perfect car, because there's no such thing as a perfect used car, but you're getting a great car that we call turnkey, meaning you can get in and go this weekend and take it for a drive.
Yeah, and that's important. You know, you start looking at things like horns and lights and stuff like that on these older cars. Sometimes that's an indicator that the car may need a whole new wire harness or something like that. And although on the surface it looks like a minor problem, it can be a very expensive deal.
You're absolutely right. So some of the first things you might look at are something like this, the footwell lighting. So I do a video on every car. I have almost 900 videos on YouTube for the cars that we have. And so what I talk about sometimes when you open the door and the footwell lighting lights up, and I say to people, so what's the big deal, Tony, about the footwell lighting? Well, the reason it's such a big deal is maybe 2 or 3 years after the car was new, the footwell lighting didn't work. And to make those kinds of things work is exactly what you were saying, is that it's been wired properly. And if somebody's put the effort into that, then there's probably some other good stuff in the car.
Right. Okay. Now, how can people get in touch with you?
They could reach us, they could drive over, check us out, and come see a little slice of heaven. If you could see, matter of fact, we have a cool spot on our website, which is Fleming'sUltimateGarage.com. So, but it's this, it's See Us Live. So you can actually see us working and everything going on there at the dealership today by clicking on that, and you can see my office view. My office view is killer. If you talk about all the people that live in or are in the New York towers and things like that, how they have these great views, got nothing on me. Every day I'm looking at a 62 Impala, or I'm looking at a Maserati or whatever, so I got a great view. So the best thing to do would be come on down and see us on Rockville Pike. So in Rockville, Maryland, or visit us on the web at Fleming'sUltimateGarage.com, or call us. We still have phones, 301-816-1000, and that's how you can reach us.
Tony, thank you very much.
Thanks, Pat.
And if you have a question or a comment, drop me a line at radio@goss-garage.com.